So we'll go ahead and get started. This is not going live to the rest of the world as usual. We're just going to keep it small and intimate
special.
here.
Small and special.
Small and special.
Great. Thank you. Aww.
And let's see. Can I get my... Well, they're not in here yet. So folks, please check YouTube and confirm. All righty. Yeah, Kushal Dutta is here. Kushal is behind many of the instrumental updates that we have for everybody today. So very grateful that he's here, and I'm sure he's going to be taking lots of notes on everyone's questions and feedback. So I'm excited.
Yep. That's one of my favorite things. Whenever I talk to prospects or customers and they have a very specific need, I'm always like, oh, we can handle that for you. And then I call Kushal and I'm like, hey, they're going to want it like this. And he's like, okay, we can do that.
Yep. Mr. Yes.
It's awesome to have him have his support.
All right, we got Jessica here. Good morning, Jess. If you can just drop a note there in the chat, make sure we're good to go. I see Melissa is here as well. Melissa just jumped in. Melissa, did I just comment on your LinkedIn post? Let me see. I think I did, right? I'm losing it. Got so many things going on at once. If I did, if you just saw a notification, let me know.
She said you sure did.
Ah, good. I don't want to miss it. It looks like it's a good one. So I made a note to Mike to tickle me, remind me later to go back and read it, Melissa. Thank you.
Aww.
So Melissa, I was just telling Brett, today's live session is going to be a little different than the usual sessions we do every Friday. Today, we've intentionally restricted the group to a small number of what we call family members, which are clients, for this workshop, for this training, for a few reasons, which you'll see here in a little bit. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being early, as usual. And let's see, what does Melissa say? And I commented on McKinsey's post this morning. So much good stuff going around. Yeah, there is, definitely. Jessica, can you just confirm we're good on YouTube? I haven't gotten confirmation on the YouTubes. What does Melissa say? I really am family now after wandering into the Mindfire family barbecue. Which one? McKinsey.
That's good.
Yeah. All good on YouTube. Okay, awesome. Oh, yes. Melissa, got it. Yes. Thank you, Jess, for letting us know. We're just going to try that. I don't expect anybody to join there this morning, Jess, but yeah, I can see you both in Ring Central and in Zoom, Jess. Thank you. We'll see if it expedites some of the post-production work we need to do. All right. We also have with us this morning, Dar.
Welcome.
Dar is here. We have Doug. Hey, you know what, Mac? You can help me remember. I'm wondering if everyone would enjoy being able to see everyone else's comments as we're in today's session. So maybe you can help me remember to ask the audience if most of the folks here are comfortable with that. Maybe I'll turn that on for everybody. Or Brett, Dar, Doug, who's here, Melissa, give me some feedback now. Would you like to be able to see what other people are saying during the session? Or is that distracting, or would it keep you from engaging with us because other people can see what you're saying? Yeah, let us know. I'd be curious to know. Melissa, yeah, you got to, Melissa, you're the one that's got to keep it clean. Yeah, definitely, Melissa. You and your spiciness, you know? So let's see. Someone else just jumped in. Mark is here. Good morning, Mark. Michael. Oh, now they're coming in pretty fast. You are sassy, yes. Brett says, I like it, but I find it distracting. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. You should, if you find that distracting, you should look at what it's like on this end. Right, Mac?
Yep.
Cool.
Although I wish there was a feature where we could connect attendees, because last session, I think it was on the direct mail one, there was someone who had a specific question and someone else who actually commented the same thing. And I told them, I'm like, oh, there's someone else in the audience who just said they did the same thing. And I think they didn't really believe me at first, but then I asked the other person, hey, can I give them your contact details? So then I ended up matching them up to be able to work after. But it would be cool to be like, hey, let's connect Brett with Jessica. And then, you know,
I think I'm getting enough of the feedback here that I'm going to leave it off for today. I think it's like Brett says, my ADHD would kick in, and I know that kicks in for me as well. So let's see. Patrick is here. Good morning, Patrick. Thanks for being here. Mark says all about the connections. Yep, I hear you, Mark. And normally when we're doing these sessions, we're actually live on LinkedIn as well, which is where we encourage people, if you do want to see the comments, go hang out there, connect with each other. If you want to keep it quieter, stay here in Zoom. Today, we're only doing it here in Zoom, special session. So hi to Patrick. Mackenzie, do you know Patrick?
I don't.
So Patrick is from Ferris State University.
Oh,
As you know, we're doing some cool stuff with him and his organization soon. So good morning, Patrick. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Patrick.
Glenn is here.
Usual,
hey, Glenn.
We have all the usual Mindfire team members here. So we've got Dave, we've got me, we've got Jessica, we've got Kushal today. We've got the lovely Suzanne, as always. We've got Mike, we've got Craig. We've got a lot of people here to support you. So if you do have any questions, as always, make sure to keep this interactive, and we'll make sure to get all those questions answered.
I see Cameron is here. Now, Cameron, which one of the 5 Camerons are you today? Cameron will let me know there if it's really Cameron. Yesterday we had a training and Cameron was there, and there were about 5 people impersonating Cameron from his team. So,
the rest of the team?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's the actual Cameron. Sweet. Suzanne
Welcome,
is here.
Cameron.
Paul is here. Michael A is here. Mark S. Lourdes is here. Awesome.
Lourdes,
Glenn, I think
welcome.
I said hello to you. Tamara is here.
Awesome.
We just talked yesterday as well. That's cool.
Duncan.
Great. Barb is here. You see Dustin?
James? No, Duncan.
Oh,
Aww,
Duncan.
You just got super excited.
Yeah, I did. My man, D Money.
Peter, Paul, we got a lot of good people here. Nice.
Duncan. Hey, Duncan. Good to see you. All right, cool. Well, thank you, everybody. If you could, folks, just Zoom doesn't do a great job at this. If you could just drop in the chat there, the company you're with, and that'll help us in some of the follow-up. Obviously, you're all family members. We should know that. But since Zoom doesn't easily show it, it's sometimes helpful for me to see that here in the chat. So if you don't mind, yeah, perfect, Glenn. Thank you. Cameron, thank you. If you can just drop in. There we go. Cool. Amy, hey, Amy, how are you? It's good to see you. Melissa, Doug, awesome, cool. Yeah, drop those in there. Thank you, folks. I see we're right at the start here, so I'm going to go ahead and kick us off here. Thank you, James. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone who's dropping their company name in there. Mac, if I can get the thumbs up from you, you can see the screen. All sounds good. Okay, perfect.
All good.
So, folks, if you've been with us in these Friday sessions, you know what we're doing here. Today's a little bit different and is very special for the group that we've privately invited here. This is a series that we do every Friday, usually with the wider OptiChannel community, focused around how to help you market and sell and lead through these tough times that many organizations are facing. And the goal through everything that we do in these sessions is to help you learn how to use OptiChannel, social marketing, and social selling from real life practitioners of this craft. And so if you're a leader in your organization, if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you work at an agency, if you're an agency, drop that in the chat. Let us know if you're an agency. We have a lot of commercial printers here in the audience. We have B2B organizations, B2C organizations who all realize that in one way or another, what used to work to engage our audience, our customers, our clients, has either become increasingly more difficult or has stopped working altogether. And so that's what OptiChannel is all about. It's the framework that allows you to understand why that's happening. And it's the framework for allowing you to understand how to actually get around that. So this is live. I'm here live in person. I can see all of you. I see Tamara is here. Mark, I've been saying hello to everybody. I see folks still coming in. So if you just jumped in, make sure to go drop a hello there in the chat. We usually are on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Zoom. So if you come back to any of these other sessions, you'll be able to find us in a number of different locations. Today, though, specifically, we're in Zoom, and this is a private session that we're doing just for a small group of you, and you'll see why here in a few minutes. I would imagine this is true, but if not, grab your cell phone, open up your camera. Mac, you can do it too, and point it at the screen. What that QR code will do is it'll take you over to LinkedIn and allow us to connect. All right. So I want to make sure we stay connected throughout, obviously throughout today's material, but also ongoingly, because these sessions, these trainings, these workshops, these interviews that we bring you every Friday, a lot of those we notify folks through LinkedIn and the social channels. So I want to make sure if we're not yet connected, whip out your cell phone, open up the camera app, point it at the QR code, and let's get connected. All right. I see Anthony Baker is here in the house. Anthony, good morning, my man. It's good to see you. All right. And there's Mackenzie. Yes, don't forget to connect with Mackenzie. That's probably more important than connecting with me, right, Mac?
I just put that link in the Zoom chat for everyone.
Okay. Thank you, Mac. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. All right. So let's get into today's material. We're going to jump right in here. The title for today's workshop is the LinkedIn economy. And I want to help you unlock and really understand this fast growing and widely misunderstood market, which is LinkedIn. And specifically, what I want to help you do is understand what are the 4 key activities, 4 key strategies that you need to actively work on a monthly, weekly, daily basis in order to get LinkedIn to work for you. That's the goal. So here's what we're going to do. Number 1, we're going to talk a little bit about why the opportunity is so large right now. And you don't want to miss this opportunity. We'll tell you why. Second, I'll show you that 4-pronged social selling strategy. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, this all sounds fantastical. It sounds kind of, pie in the sky. What does it really do for other people? I'll show you some examples of what you can do when you apply this strategy. And then thirdly, I want to show you some brand new tools that are available to you as MindFire family members that you can use to accelerate this process. But I don't want to start there because you need to understand the strategy first. You can do all of this stuff by hand, but you need to learn the strategy and the thought process behind it before you start to use software to help you make that process more efficient. All right. And then as always, we're going to leave plenty of time for Q&A, and I'll give you some next steps if you would like to take your journey further and begin to apply this for yourself or your organization. Mac, before I start, do you want to say anything to the faithful that are gathered here today?
No, just that, that last number 3 in the bullet list here about tools that you can use. That's kind of why we've gathered a really small, intimate, and special group of people, MindFire family members. We have some, as Dave dangled the little carrot in front of you, we have some awesome tools that we're going to be rolling out to you specifically. It's going to help mechanize these things. But as Dave said, we want to set the foundation. We want to, again, explain why this is important, and also show you that these are all things that you can do without some of these tools to mechanize these items, right? And so we want to lay that foundation, make sure you understand why it's important and why you're doing it, and also give you some tangible results about, okay, if I do this, what does that mean to me? Why should I even spend my time doing this? So we'll walk you through that, and then we'll show you some of that at the end. And we're super excited to be here with you today.
Hey, if you're a Zoom newbie, which I don't imagine any of you are, but I just want to make sure you know there's a little double lined line in between the Zoom representation of the PowerPoint that you're seeing, the visuals, and our faces. And so you can drag that over to the left if you want to make those a little bit more equally sized. I've heard from some folks recently in our trainings that, hey, I didn't know that I could make your face a little bit bigger. Not that you want to see my face more on your screen, but if you want those a little bit more equal, you can drag that over and see them a little bit more clearly. All right. So with that, I'm ready to get started. Is everybody, I see Melissa's joke there. She's already being sassy. See, if everyone's ready to get started, drop a yes in the chat and let's rock and roll. Thank you, Mac, for that, for those extra words there. I appreciate that. So if you're ready to get started, drop a yes in the chat. And I want to talk about for a moment, why now? Why is investing in your team and your team's time, your organization's time into LinkedIn so important right now? And yeah, I know it sounds cliche. You've heard me say this before, and we all say this, but the world has fundamentally changed. It's a very simple change, but it's very profound in its implications on those of you who are printers, agencies, marketing services companies. And that change is so profound that it's impacted how all of us as people, as companies, communicate with one another. And you've seen us talk about this before, right? The change, which we argue is really the predicate, the thing that underlies the notion of omnichannel is that for you to be successful in achieving whatever goals you have for yourself or your organization, producing content correctly, and we underline that, is the easiest way for you to reach your goals. Here's why I say that. Specifically, as we talk about LinkedIn, there's two concepts. If you're taking notes, I take notes on what I say too. There's two concepts I want you to know. The first is a content-saturated platform, and I'm going to contrast that in a moment with this idea of a content-deficient platform, okay? So a content-saturated platform, these are platforms, these are social networks that have more content than eyeballs, than users viewing that content. It's a basic supply and demand principle, right? So if you look at a scale like this, there's more content than there are viewers. And so that creates a surplus of content, right? The platform serves your content to only a portion of the people that you're connected with because there's just so much stuff.
Typically in these platforms, these are the ones where you start to hear people saying, oh, the algorithm's not working for me anymore, right? Yep. So he's going to contrast this, but one of the symptoms of a content saturated platform is you as the creator or other creators saying, wait a minute, this algorithm's not working for me anymore. And what he's pointing out here is that it's not that the algorithm isn't working for you anymore. It's a basics of supply and demand. Maybe a year ago when the algorithm was working for you, there wasn't as much content, right? And so it had the opportunity to be shared with more eyeballs. But as people catch on to this trend and they start producing as well, then obviously that starts to shift. And that's another reason why it's really important when Dave says, you know, why is it important now? It's because he's going to outline that LinkedIn is at the place where the algorithm is working for you based on this supply and demand. So that's another way to put this.
So classic examples of content saturated platforms right now are Facebook or Instagram. Doesn't mean you can't use those effectively. I'm just giving you an example of where this principle is seen in real life right now. But as Mackenzie just said, in contrast, there are content deficient platforms, platforms that have, as you see here on the screen, more viewers than content being made. And the omnichannel premise is that you need to find places like that where your audience is hanging out and engaging. Now, if you think my audience isn't on LinkedIn, or maybe because I'm not on LinkedIn or good on LinkedIn, or it hasn't worked for me that my customers aren't LinkedIn, that's a fallacy. We don't get to decide that. The market decides, right? These platforms, these content deficient platforms are few in number, which is good. It's helpful, but they're very important because that's where the value is at. Does that make sense? So LinkedIn, TikTok, Clubhouse, those are good examples of where the organic reach is tremendous. So that's what's happening on LinkedIn right now. Drop an X in the chat if you're following this. If you get this concept, drop an X in the chat. I want to see if everybody's getting this. On Facebook and Instagram, your content only gets served to a small number of your followers. So this visual representation here of the algorithm that Mackenzie's talking about, right? The algorithm there on Facebook and Instagram is going to show that piece of content only to a small number of people. But on the other hand, on LinkedIn, there just isn't enough content to be seen. Think about how powerful this is. Let's say I'm connected with Doug H, who I see here in the comments, right? And let's say Doug likes one of my posts on LinkedIn. Thank you for doing that, Doug. It'll get shared to potentially all, let's say 5,000 of his LinkedIn connections. Let's say he's got 5,000 connections. Multiply that by, let's say 50 likes on that post, and you can get to 250,000 eyeballs pretty quickly. You see how that works? So this is a stat from LinkedIn. The good news here for all of you is that less than 1% of people on LinkedIn are actually creating content. Less than 1%. So the machine is starving for you to fill those pipes. Let me summarize. What I'm saying here is the omnichannel philosophy and the piece that we're diving into today, predicated on this idea that finding your clients or if you're a service provider, if you're an agency or a printer, if you're doing this for your customers, the idea is finding those people in the places they hang out so that you can reverse engineer where the attention is right now. And today we're talking about LinkedIn as one of those places. What you then need to learn how to do is contextualize your engagement there, your content. And I'm going to show you how to do that and orchestrate a series of meaningful interactions and conversations in order to get what you're looking for. And then you repeat that process. This is how it works. At a high level, this is the mindset that you need to have. Now, the good thing is, look at the screen here. As it pertains to LinkedIn, most people, like I said, 99%, actually more than 99% are like these folks here, right? They're all consuming the content. They're looking at it, they're scrolling. They're not really actively engaged in commenting and posting and doing those kinds of things. So for you, what I want you to think about is look at yourself as a producer of content now, which means that when you consume the content, which we all should, switch your mindset. Look at it and say, why is that piece of content working? Why is that video of a Heidelberg working for my competitor, my frenemy? Why is that video of that agency owner talking about what they did for a customer? Why did it get 10,000 views? Look through the eyes of a producer, take a note, write it down somewhere and think, okay, how can I do something similar? Mackenzie, you want to add anything to that idea?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay. So the opportunity here, folks, less than 1% of people do this. And here's what you should do to join that 1%. All right. Give me an X in the chat if you're ready to go through the social selling framework. If you have any questions about what I just said, let me know. Mac, if you don't mind, like curate or collate those questions.
Yep, I started that. Yep. Thank you, Glenn.
Perfect.
I got your question. I did respond and I'll respond to your questions, but I want to make sure that we share all those live on air so that everyone gets the benefit from this as well. So we will.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the social selling framework. I'm going to break this down for you. There's going to be a lot here. We are recording this. We will make this available to you. If you have questions, please let us know. All right. This training is very similar to what companies around the world are now investing in, leading companies. I can't mention their names, but many organizations have come to Mindfire to say, hey, what you are talking about, what you train, what you teach is the future. We need our sales teams. We need our BD teams. We need our executive teams to get on board. Please train us. And so the results that follow from this process is what compels them to double down once they realize what they've been missing. And so let me show you that framework. Let me show you what we train folks on. Let me help you understand how to do this. You've seen pieces of this before if you've been in different parts of our training, but I'm going to go deeper in the key areas right now. There's 4 pieces you need to know. Number 1, and this is as it pertains to LinkedIn, the first thing you got to get right is establishing your brand. And that really starts with your profile, your LinkedIn profile. All right, I'm going to show you what I mean there. Number 2, you need to be publishing content. And you need to use what we call hashtags. Again, if these words are new to you, I'm going to show you all of this. Hashtags that your target market is listening to. Number 3, you need to build connections with companies and people in your target market and start to establish trust. And fourthly, you need to engage in conversations. You need to be social on social media. And there's a very specific set of ways that you need to do that. It all starts, let me grab my little annotation pen here. It all starts with understanding that you have to reframe what you're doing through the eyes of your ideal customer or target market. Okay, I'm going to be very specific about that here in just a moment. Those are the 4 pieces. Now, Mac, you can jump to the next slide, grab the URL, and get ready to drop this in for everybody. Here's something I want you to do. I want you to realize that LinkedIn looks at you like a number, as a number, okay? And some of you have already pulled your score before, but there's this score called your Social Selling Index, your SSI. Mackenzie just dropped it in there to the chat. What I want you to do is click that link, go find your score. It's going to look something like what you see here on the screen, and then throw it back in the chat, and let's talk about it. Who's going to be the first one to go grab it? This Social Selling Index is a measure. There we go. We got Melissa at 53 a measure of how effective you are at running these 4 pillars of the social selling framework. So we have 53, Dar at 65, Brett at 71, Amy at 53, Michael at 68.
And the other thing I want to note here is that you can see on Dave's screen the 4 different areas, right? Establish your personal brand, find the right people. So everything that we're teaching you, the framework coincides with the things that LinkedIn says are important that contribute to your social selling index score, right? So it's not like LinkedIn's giving you some algorithm and we're teaching you this other thing, right? Everything aligns, because if you do the things that we teach you to do, it's going to impact all 4 of these areas, thus increasing your social selling index. And obviously, no one's here to get an A+ on the SSI. Really, what we want is to contribute to your sales, to your opportunities, to your conversations. And all these are going to flow into that and impact your ability to grow your revenue using LinkedIn.
So I see Michael at 68. Brett says his went up in the last month. Patrick at 39. Glenn at 66. James at 61. Mark says 71, down from 79. Uh-oh. So we got to get that back up. Brett says I was at 58 a month ago and now at 71. All right. So you have a sense now for kind of how LinkedIn looks at you. And as you said, Mackenzie, this is an amalgamation of a variety of things that you're doing on LinkedIn or not doing that contribute to the score. So let me start with the first piece here. I'm going to go a little bit more deeply into each of these 4 pieces now, okay? Specifically with establishing your brand by recrafting your LinkedIn profile from the perspective of your target market. What we have for you, if you don't have this right now, Mike Chircuzio or Jessica on the team will send this out after the event. We actually have a guide that's got 15 very specific elements that you need to adjust on your LinkedIn profile. If you want that, drop the word guide here in the chat. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but as a next step, as I promised you at the beginning, there are some very specific things. One thing I would highly recommend you do is get that checklist after the event. Put those 15 things into place right now, okay, or as soon as you can. I'm going to walk through a few of those for you. First of all, if you're wondering why the heck is getting a profile on LinkedIn dialed in correctly, why is that so important? I can remember back when we first started uncovering this opportunity here that I had the view, some of you have the same view that, LinkedIn is kind of like this online collection of resumes or CVs, right? I see your head nodding, Mackenzie, right? And that's true for some folks, maybe if you're looking for a job. But the big opportunity, the big switch, the big shift that has happened is that it has become a social network much more like Facebook, but more friendly, I would say, in many cases, more value producing, more revenue generating for many people. And so your profile is much more than just a resume. It's your selling brand, and people are judging you, James, Paul, and Dan, based on your profile. 49% of buyers research you on LinkedIn, and 50% of buyers avoid you if you have what's called an incomplete profile. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's imagine that, let me grab my pen again, see if I can do a nice little drawing here. Let's imagine this is A over here, and this is profile B, all right? If you got a connection request from A or B, which one would you be more likely to engage? Drop it in the chat. Okay, let's see, what do we got? B's from Brett, because his first name starts with B. Yeah, I see all the B's coming in, right? So this is an illustration of what I mean, of what we mean by an incomplete profile. I bet, and I haven't looked carefully yet this morning, but I bet that there are some of you who look something like this here on the left. And if you're saying, you know what, LinkedIn just hasn't done anything for me. Well, this might be one of the contributing factors. So you need to have a complete profile. That profile, 92% of B2B buyers will engage with you if you're seen as a thought leader. And that starts with getting your profile right. All of these details are in that guide. So if you want that guide, make sure to drop the word guide in. The big shift that many of you have to make is going from when we write our profiles to thinking about it as me, 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 me. It's all about me. I'm so awesome. To writing it in a way where it communicates the idea of like, here's how I can help a business like yours, people in your situation. Here's what I deliver folks like you. And yeah, I'm awesome. We have these accolades. but we have those because of you and for you. You see that shift? Instead of talking about ourselves, patting ourselves on the back, which I admit I did the same, right? Recraft it to focus on your target market. Drop a 1 in the chat.
Yeah, and I just want to underline where Dave says here, here's how I help businesses, people, situation just like yours. I think the key here is to focus on the just like yours. I like to think about it like this. If your best prospect or customer visited your page, would they think, oh, I'm in the right area based on what they see? Meaning if you serve a specific network and you help, people who host digital events do X, if someone who hosts digital events, if they come to their page, can they quickly self-identify, oh, this person can help me? And if they can't, you want to craft your words carefully to make sure that they come there and they can quickly self-identify with what they're looking to do and how you can help them better do that.
You'll see these things in the guide. I see many of you asking for it. We'll make sure to get that to you. You'll see all of these in the guide. But the first very tactical thing that you want to make sure you have dialed in is your headshot. As you can see from the research, 65% of buyers say an informative profile is an important factor in deciding whether or not they're going to engage with you. And part of that is the impression that your photo gives. We have a bunch of guidance here. I'm not going to go through all of it right now, but I want you to know, think in your head, I got to check my profile picture. Second, this is what's called the cover image. You see this up here that I'm kind of moving my mouse over right here? That's the cover image. So along with your headshot, people notice that background image. Many of you, many of you have the system default cover image. Once you become good at this, once you spend more time on LinkedIn, once you're a practitioner, you'll start to look at it the way many of your potential customers are looking at that default image. They'll say, you know what? This is somebody who doesn't care about their personal brand. This is someone who hasn't invested in presenting themselves properly on LinkedIn. So the advantage that you have, change that image. Make it something that communicates what you can do for your clients, what you do for your customers, something that stands out that's not the system default image. And again, the point is we want to look more like B over here rather than A. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to everybody. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions about that. That's the first piece, getting your profile, getting your brand communicated correctly through LinkedIn. The second piece here is publishing content, high value content, using hashtags that your customers, your potential customers listen to. If that doesn't make sense, I'm going to explain it to you here in a moment. All right. I know many times when I say, look, you got to publish content on LinkedIn, Mackenzie, you and I run into this all the time, right? People look at us like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do that. Right. But there's two reasons I want to share with you that you don't need to be scared. It's normal to have that feeling. But there's two things I want you to remember. First of all, you are not going to break anything. Some people are so scared because they think they have to be perfect. This holds many of you back. You know who I'm talking to right now. Forget about it. I'll teach you what you need to know to be ahead of most people. That's what you're going to learn today. But you shouldn't be afraid to experiment. Another way of looking at it is, so what? Let's say you publish something and you have, a couple hundred followers, a few hundred. What's the big deal? It's not the end of the world. You can always go back and do it again. I had a question yesterday, I think from somebody here who's in the group asking, how much is too much in terms of posting content? For the vast majority of you, for the vast majority of us, you are so far from hitting that threshold, that should not even be a concern of yours. Put that down the road. The good news is you have a lot of options. You can post text-only posts. You don't have to be a graphic designer or get somebody on your graphic design team to give you an image. If you have a good image, you can do a text with an image. You can do text in a video. You can do text in a document. Documents can be uploaded right here, and they're great for, showing customers what you can do, putting a PDF of the things that you can do, illustrations of the work that you've done. Polls are really powerful. If you've been on LinkedIn, you've probably seen a few polls. People will ask questions. And if you haven't done one, what you might not know is that LinkedIn gives you the ability to see who's answering those questions, right? And now as a producer, if you look at the world through the eyes of a producer, think about the lead gen opportunities you have by knowing how your market is responding to these polls. Does that make sense, everyone? Drop me a 1 in the chat. I don't want you to be scared. Here's the other thing I don't want you to be scared of. Here's the second. When I say publish content, when we say publish content, that includes well-written comments. What I mean by that is, let's say you still have to work up the courage to produce more content and post, like what I'm showing you here on the screen. Let's imagine you need to work up some courage to do that. Coming out of this class today, men and women, go drop some comments, some value-laden comments on potential customers who have posted something. People in your target market. Here's Rachel. Let me show you what I mean. Rachel attended a class very much like this. She said, I just had a great example of this working, talking about dropping comments. I've been calling on a design firm, so this is a prospect that she wants to engage, who recently did a post showcasing some great political posters that they designed. I commented on it and just got an RFQ.
Yep. And one of the things that really helped me in the beginning is someone that said, listen, you don't have to be a thought leader in the beginning. All you need to do is be a thought contributor. And when I heard that, it sort of took the pressure off me to produce some perfect content that people were going to think, hit it out of the park. At the end of the day, all Dave's asking you to do and encouraging you to do, because we see the results, is to contribute to the conversation, right? Be a thought contributor where you see that you have something to say, just like you would if you were sitting around a table and someone brought something up, right? You may not be the first, maybe you're shy, maybe you're not the first person to start the conversation. But when someone else starts the conversation, maybe you interject and add a comment or something like that. I like that. For me, helped me sort of take the pressure off and it enabled me to take those first steps in getting engaged in the conversation.
I love that, Mac. That's really good. That's helpful. And I see Telmara and Amy saying thank you for that. That's good. Thank you. Here's another example from Shavi. She's saying, well, this is a post I came across on LinkedIn. I have a call tomorrow with the kind of potential client I've dreamed about for years, but I wasn't sure I'd ever have a chance. She was asking for tips on how to engage that customer, right? But as a practitioner of what we preach, I dropped in with a comment, congrats, and asked a question. That's very good in comments. Ask a question. You want to initiate conversation. How did you land the call? Do you know anyone in the company? How well have you studied this person in their company? And look what she responded. Surprisingly enough, although it's not surprising for you anymore, right? An executive from the company reached out after I commented on his LinkedIn post. That makes sense? So take the pressure off. Melissa just said, that's some wise advice, Mackenzie. Take some of the pressure off, drop some comments. And how did you phrase it, Mackenzie? Contribute thought, right?
Yep, be a thought contributor.
Be a thought contributor. So that's the second piece there, publishing content. Let me show you what I mean by hashtags, all right? If you're not familiar with hashtags, let me show you a quick example. When you're publishing content on LinkedIn, when you're putting this content out there, you should be using hashtags, okay? A hashtag is like what you see here on the screen. See these right here with the pound sign in front of them? And again, if you already know what hashtags are and you're like, Dave, come on, that's too simple. Bear with me, folks, all right? There's a lot of different types of people here. I wanna make sure you clearly understand what I'm saying. This is too valuable to assume. These are the hashtags that I'm talking about right here, all right? Now, what is a hashtag? In the context of LinkedIn specifically, a hashtag is a phrase that your potential market, your target market, an audience has said, I want more content around this phrase, even if I'm not connected with that person. So let me say it again. Your potential market is saying, I want to learn more about this topic. I want to see more content in my feed from people I'm not even connected with. Show me that. I want to subscribe to that. Now, there are two ways. There are two ways to use hashtags. There's the foolish way and there's the wise way. The foolish way, and if you don't know what you're doing with hashtags, you'll see somebody write a post and they'll put a hashtag like this. I'm so funny, look at me, right? That's okay in some other social networks. But in the context of LinkedIn, if you want to be a social seller, instead, you need to be using a hashtag that actually has people listening to it. Like this one, digital marketing. You get the difference? No one is listening to this silly made up hashtag. You might look cute. You might look silly. You might look sassy, right? But it doesn't do anything. No one's listening to that hashtag. Whereas one like this, people are listening to. So the key is find the right hashtags, track them. Let me show you what I mean, and use them as a mechanism to be in front of your target market, even if they're not connected to you. Are you getting this?
Right. A lot of people know when I talk to them that hashtags exist and they see them. And in fact, most of the people say, oh yeah, I've used hashtags all the time. And I say, well, why do you use them? And there's sort of a silence there, right? So Dave just gave you the key. Hashtags are not just there to take up real estate on a post. Hashtags are there to identify what sort of content or topic your post or your comment is about, so that other people that are interested in those posts or topics can go find more information on, right? So actually, if you think about it, hashtags are an extremely strategic tool that you can use to find other content that you want to learn about and to share content with people that your target market wants to learn about, right? So instead of just thinking of them as real estate on the post, think about, how can I use this hashtag to put my content in front of my ideal audience based on this keyword?
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. I see Melissa saying, OMG, not so simple. Yeah, I understand. I had to explain the difference between tagging and hashtagging, right? To multiple people. I totally understand that, Melissa. It's some people think, oh, I got it, right? But I so often see people confusing hashtags with tagging, even some of our clients, right? Mac, you know who I'm talking about. So here's what I train everyone to do. If you're in our 6-week Omnichannel Secrets training course, this is what I train everybody to do. I suggest that you all create a spreadsheet like the one you see here on the screen, or use the feature I'm about to show you in the software here in a moment. And what I suggest you do is create a list of hashtags for you and for your company that are germane, that are applicable to your audience and their interests. Here's a simple example of what we use, right? These are all hashtags that we have used that we have found are of interest to our market. We track how many people are following those, and we have a little simple column here. See this column M? When you write a post, or as you're writing it, you go through your list, you put a little X there in the row of the hashtag you want to use, and then you filter it just to show you the X's. And then you come over here, copy them out, and paste them into your post. That's it. Right? Does that make sense? So I suggest, I suggest this is what you do, and that you use these hashtags to grow and extend the reach of the posts and the content that you're putting out on LinkedIn. Does that make sense, everyone? So this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about publishing content. That's how you publish content. That's how you use hashtags to engage the market that you want to tap into. Okay? Thirdly, here's the third piece. Connecting. You want to connect with people. That's the third piece here. So what do I mean by that? Here's some basic rules around connecting. I think you all know on most social networks, you need to engage other people and you friend them, you connect with them. The same basic idea, right? If you're not familiar with it. A lot of people on LinkedIn freeze up, freak out, run for the hills, or they go to the other extreme when I tell them they need to connect. Let me just give you a couple of simple rules. Find people in your target market, customers, potential customers, by searching or engaging in their content, and connect with them. I'll show you how to do that. It's really simple. Personalize, take the time to personalize and contextualize that connection request if you can. So in other words, when you connect with somebody, whether you're doing it from your mobile or from the desktop, you can add a little connection note. And we suggest that you write a little note telling them why you want to connect with them, what compelled you to reach out to them. Thirdly, for the Lord's sake, act like a normal human being. Don't start pitching right away. How many of you like being pitched on the first date? How many? Anybody? No, I see Mackenzie shaking her head, right? Do not pitch on the first unless, there might be a use case for that. I can't think of one right off the top of my head, but nobody likes that. Would you sit down at somebody? I use this example a lot. Remember, we used to go to trade shows and you'd have the lunch thingy at noon, right? A bunch of tables networking. How many of you would sit down, turn to the person on your left and immediately start pitching them? I don't think anybody would do that. Yet I see so many of you go to LinkedIn. First thing you start doing is pitching. The heck is wrong with you? That's none of you here. I know that. Don't pitch. Now you might be thinking, well, how the heck do I actually get people to ask me for my products and services? That's coming. But it's not by pitching on the first date. Use the trade show lunch rule, which I just described to you, which is like, imagine you're sitting down next to those people and have a normal conversation with them. Now, obviously, you have an interest in them. They're a potential customer. They have a problem you think you can solve. They are a potential employee, a potential partner, JV relationship. There's so many things you can do with LinkedIn, right? There's likely some reason why you want to talk to them. But do it like you would at a trade show in real life. Have a normal conversation. A lot of these opportunities to connect with people on LinkedIn come through very natural engagement. You don't have to manufacture it. I'll show you what I mean here as we go deeper. All right. So that's the third piece. Connect with people. Fourthly, you need to engage. And I'm going to show you two specific ways using hashtags and search that can engage your target market and bring more attention to you in the right way. All right. The first is using hashtags. I've already talked to you a little bit about them, right? You use them in your posts. We just talked about that. Now, once you start to follow or listen to these hashtags, you'll see them over here. See how you see them in the lower right? Gary's looking up here, looking kind of weird, but over here, look over here, right? Lower left, it'll track for you some of the hashtags, and you'll have a list, or you should make a list, right? Now, what happens is when you click on one of those hashtags, or when you search for one of those hashtags, you're going to get a list of posts. Just like, let's say we clicked on this tree care one, you're going to get a list of posts that use that hashtag. So the reason why I'm showing tree care here is I often get people saying, look, my market is so unique and so special. They're not on LinkedIn, Dave. Come on, stop smoking whatever you're smoking. Really? Have you looked? Do you know how to look? No, but we take care of trees, right? Okay. Tree care. It's a hashtag. People talk about it. Here's an example. Maybe this is a potential customer for somebody in tree care, right? Look, is this a guy or a girl? Dominic posted this. It's got 3 likes. It's pretty quiet. Imagine if you, Melissa, Peter, dropped a comment. You don't think he would notice? Absolutely would notice, right? So like and drop a comment. That's what I'm talking about, using hashtags to engage with your target market. Just click that little button, drop a comment. Here's another way you can do it. Come up here. See this search? Mackenzie, you see the search up here? Everyone see the search? Type in something that your target market is interested in or looking for. Silly example. I knew we were going to have a lot of printers here with us today. POP signage, right? Type that in up here in the search bar, and then click this right here where it says posts. What comes back are people who are talking about point of purchase signage. So here's somebody, Lindsay, let's say, right? Here's her post. There's others, many others. Let's say you find one that looks interesting. I picked Ben's here, right? I'm not connected with Ben. I did that intentionally, right? Ben is talking about something that, let's say you are in that business, you're in that space. Maybe you have something to offer Ben. Go to his post and do what we call commenting your 2 cents. Drop your 2 cents. That can mean something like this. Ask Ben a question. Add some value to him in his life. That could be something as simple as, seriously, if he's not getting much engagement on LinkedIn, a like and a comment could add some value to him. He's gonna be like, sweet, somebody actually likes me on LinkedIn, right? That's a very simple, silly example of dropping value. More is talk about something. Give him some insight from your unique point of view. Reply to someone else's comment. Continue the conversation. Add your point of view as an expert or a practitioner and elevate the conversation. Maybe describe a scenario like Ben's that you were involved in, something that happened, some anecdote. Don't pitch, drop value, and think of it as dropping your 2 cents, or what we train our clients to do that go through our Opti-Channel Secrets training, like many of you are, is to think of it as literally as dropping $100 bills. That's the level of value that you have to have in your head. when you're dropping comments?
Yeah, the only thing I want to say, and we're going to go over everyone's questions, but Melissa had a great question, which is that I feel like I'm overthinking my comments, right? So I do love the idea of dropping $100, bills of value. But I also think that one thing that she's saying is, when I overthink them, it holds me back from posting. And my response to that is, I think sometimes, and I do this too, is we overvalue each comment that we make, right? We think in our head, okay, this one comment is going to be the comment that's going to make or break my business, right? You don't think that actually, but subconsciously you do. And then you start getting really, really hyper focused on the words you use. What do you say? You start to get out of your heart and into your head. So while it's important that you deliver value, I think a lot of it has to do with the intent that you have. If you go on LinkedIn with the intention that you want to contribute to the conversation, you want to network, you actually want to build relationships, the comments that you leave inherently are going to exhibit that good intent.
Great point.
When you have that intent, go into the platform with that intent and then start to engage and drop comments, but don't overvalue every single comment, because really your success on the platform is the macro sum of all the contribution that you make, all the comments that you do, all the posting that you do, all the likes that you give, right? So instead of overvaluing each one, make sure to go in there with a positive intention. That positive intention is going to translate to the $100 bills of value, 100%. If that makes sense.
Totally. Preach it, sister. Now, if you're not connected to the person, like I'm not connected to Ben here, connect with them. Send a personalized request. Say, hey, Ben, I saw your awesome post about your exhilarating project. Would love to connect with you. I'm a geek about POP signage too. Something like that, right? Create some sort of connection with Ben. So that's how you connect with people organically through the process of using the platform. Establish your brand. And the question I get all the time is, like, if I work on my profile and I do all these things that you're talking about, Dave, do I just leave my profile alone and not touch it? No, I recommend you employ this process and use what you're learning by reading those comments like Mackenzie's talking about, dropping that comment, reading these posts, and use it to, over time, recraft your profile and maybe give it a look once or twice a month and see, what, based on my recent learnings, what I'm hearing from my customers, my prospects, what I'm learning on LinkedIn, let me adjust this. Let me tweak that. Oh, I saw somebody else do this. Now, as a producer, you're looking at the world differently, right? Let me change my header image. Let me put a circle around my head. Let me see if that gets more attention. Once or twice a month. Now, inevitably, I get the question, how often should I be doing all of these other things? I suggest publishing content, creating posts 3 to 7 times per week. Once a day, there's not too much. In some cases, some of our clients are going multiple times a day. But at least try to get yourself 3 times in a week. How many people should you be connecting with? Hey, 20 to 30 targeted people in your market per day. Think about how that accrues over time. Think about how that compounds, how that builds. How many more people are seeing your content? How many more people are seeing your name? How many comments and engagements should you be doing per day? It's going to probably surprise some of you. Suggest, if you can, 50 to 100. Now you might be thinking, oh my gosh, 50 to 100? But let me tell you this, folks. If you're in a situation right now where you're not getting the inbound lead flow, the sales aren't coming in that you're looking for, you got some time. It doesn't take a lot of time to do this once you build that muscle memory. What do you have to lose? Put the investment of time in now. Drop those comments. Even if you start with 10 per day, it's better than where many of you are at right now. So here's my question for you before we transition to the next piece here. Do you think you, Melissa, Michael, Mike, Paul, Peter, Thomas, Val, all of you who are here, do you think you can do these steps? I want you to tell me in the chat. Tell us in the chat. Peter says, I got to figure this out. I have to figure it out. Brett says, yes, I can. Dan says, yes. Melissa says, I can, and I am doing these things. Melissa, where are you frequency-wise? Compare yourself to what you see here. Tamara says, implement your power and reevaluate. Yes. Glenn says, yes. Michael says, of course, doing this, but not 20 to 30. Okay. Well, I would say if you're getting what you want out of LinkedIn, keep doing it. But if you want more, put some more time into it.
And again, just like anything, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So doing 20 to 30 per day for a month, in my opinion, is less likely to yield good results than doing 15 to 20 for 6 months. Right. Because a lot of these people, if you're connecting with new people, are just meeting you for the first time on LinkedIn. Right. And so if you want to build a relationship, there has to be a level of trust, right? They have to see you delivering value consistently over a long period of time for them to come to the conclusion, shoot, this is someone I want to connect with because they're actually talking about good value things in my industry, right? If you're talking about, how to effectively market digital events and you have a 1 month, time where you just post all this stuff and then you leave, are you the choice that they're going to make when they want to talk about digital events, when they on month 2 don't see anything? Or if they see little nuggets of value about digital events over a long, consistent period of time, they start to form the opinion in their mind that, wow, this person is someone who I probably want to engage when I have a question, right? You want them to come to the conclusion in their mind that you're a thought leader, a thought contributor, or that you have something to give to them. Again, that comes from being consistent over a long period of time.
Now, I know, Mac, you have pulled some questions for us. Let's hold those for a moment. What I want to do, folks, I want to get to all your questions as I promised at the start. What I want to transition to now is, with that framework in mind, with this training in mind, I want to talk to you about, as Mindfire clients, I want to make you aware of a new set of features that are coming very soon. They're called, collectively, it's under kind of the Social Selling Assistant name. You'll start to see that more and more. You're the first group that I'm training on and that I'm showing this to. I'm really super excited to be able to bring that to you. So as I go through it, if you want access, I'm going to give it to you all, but I'll tell you how to get it in just a moment. Okay. So keep that in the back of your mind. I will tell you how to get access. And I do want you all to be able to experience this if you want to use it. The Social Selling Assistant is going to help you mechanize much of what I just taught you. Now, it's really important that you understand why you're doing what you do. And as practitioners, you got to be able to roll up your sleeves and do this stuff with your own hands, or train somebody on your team to do that. But as you do it, the more you do it, you'll realize that there are areas where machine learning and machine assistance can really help you accentuate what you're doing. And so that's what the Social Selling Assistant is all about. It's a little Chrome extension that sits in your web browser right here. And it does a couple of really, really important things that are going to help you accelerate your journey. Let me show you what I mean. Inside the software, some of you have seen this, but if you haven't for the first time, if this is your first time, then take a look at what you see here on the screen. I'm going to walk through each piece and show you how it helps accelerate this process that I just trained you on. The first aspect that this part of the software has in mind is right in line with what I just trained you on. It starts with creating what we call a target market. This is a group of people, customers, prospects. You get to decide what that target market is that you want to go after. Think of it like a bucket, a collection of things that are going to fit inside of that bucket. Let me show you what I mean. The first step is create that target market. The second thing is, if you look at the screen, the system will find content that's of interest to your target market that you can now share, right? Remember we talked about publishing content? That you can share in a way that's not only going to provide high value content to your audience, but also give you a way to siphon engagement back to you, siphon readers back to you. Some of you already have access to this. Some of you already know what I'm talking about. Others of you, this is a new concept for. But when you enter in the target market configuration, Mindfire is going to go and find content, articles, like you see here on the screen, and give you clues as to the social engagement that those articles are already getting, so that you know they're already resonating with your market. And then it gives you a way to be able to share that content and superimpose what we call a call to action on that content that brings folks back to you. So if you're sitting there thinking, man, I love what you guys are talking about, but I don't know what to say. I don't know if I have high value content. Well, here's one way where all of a sudden you have access to content that's already working that you can share and bring folks back to you. Or if you're sitting there thinking, but I can create my own content. I don't need to use someone else's. Well, at the very least, come in here and see what headlines are working, what type of content's working, what platforms is it working on, and use it to inform your decisions. Does that make sense? Drop a 1 in the chat if you got that. That's the second piece in the target market section. Thirdly, I showed you how to use hashtags, remember? Hashtags get you in front of your audience, people that you're not yet connected to. But as people subscribe to those hashtags, as they say, hey, I want to hear more about that content, there are some things that you can now start to mechanize. Let me show you what I mean by that. You can enter in that list of hashtags that you go and you find that you think are particularly applicable to your audience, to your market, right? You add that list and the system will keep track for you of how many people are following that content. And you can also tell it, look, every so often, go and engage with people who are using that hashtag. Does that make sense? So you can set that up, tell the system what to listen to, which hashtags to monitor for you. So when you're writing your next post, you can come in here and say, you know what? I want to use printing as a hashtag because 26,000 people are listening to it now, right? That's one thing you can do. Second, you can tell it, hey, go engage with that hashtag for me. Start to create some activity around the people who are using that hashtag so that I get seen. Does that make sense? That's the third with hashtags. Now, in addition, the system will help you find companies in your target market, companies on LinkedIn that are potential prospects for you. That's built into the software. So as an example, here's Sandy Alexander, right? You can add those companies. You can have the system help you find those companies, and it will bring in data about that potential customer or target, right? Now you see here, Mac, can you see this where it says find people who work here? Can you see that?
Yep.
Everyone see that? Yeah. So what it'll help you do, let's say you have an ABM strategy and you're saying, you know what? I really got to get into Sandy Alexander. They're a perfect customer for us. You enter them in, the system does its magic, and then it'll pop up with this button here and say, hey, I was able to find 17 people who work there. What type of person would you like me to pull in for you so that you can start to engage with them? When you do that, they then appear here in this people tab. You see that people tab there? Let me actually go to that right now. They'll come in right here, and the system will go try to find their email address, find their LinkedIn profile, enrich the information about that person so that you have an actionable suspect that you can begin to engage. Am I making sense so far? Drop me a yes in the chat if I'm making sense.
Making sense to me.
Give me a yes. I see the yeses coming in. Now, what you can also do is say, look, I want you to go and engage with these people on LinkedIn. You can click this button right here. It says visit. And when you do that, you can visit and start to warm those people up, if you will. Here's what I mean. You can tell the system, look, when you visit somebody for me, I want you, first of all, follow them. That gives them a little ego boost. I also want you to like their 5 most recent posts or articles for me. If I'm not connected with them, send them a connection request. And when you do that, send them a little personalized note, something that's contextual to why I'm connecting with them. And then the system will go off, just like we talked about here, and start connecting with those people. Does that make sense? Now,
I just want to pause for a second because for you, Dave, you know, this is something that you've been using and experiencing, but for all these people, this is new, right? And so I just want to underscore the importance of what Dave just showed you, right? Right, exactly, Glenn. It's quite cool, actually. What we're trying to enable you to do is do all these things. We heard you saying to us, you know what, Mindfire, we love what you're teaching us. And we're doing it, right? We're spending X amount of our time doing it, and we're starting to see glimmers of hope, good results, right? But now we want to scale that out. How can you, Mindfire, help us scale out the tactics that you're teaching us to employ? And that's exactly what we're doing here, right? We're bringing you a tool to mechanize some of those actions. But what I think is the most important thing is that the tool that we have here isn't forgetting about all the things we taught you, which is you need to contextualize it. You need to send a message when you connect with those people, right? So it's enabling you to do those things that keep the personal one-to-one relationship where you're not just spamming a million people, right?
Yep.
That's key. And that's why I think it's really important to just understand we wanted to keep and uphold the intention behind being personal, the intention behind building relationships, but also allow you to save some time and mechanize some of those actions.
Just like Dar said, great time-saving feature, but that's why we started with the training, just like you said, Mackenzie, with the mindset, because if you go into this and think, you know what, I'm just going to put this on autopilot and I'm going to connect with 10 billion people a day and all of a sudden everything's going to work for me, that's not the idea here. Think of this like a Mindfire trained employee that you sit next to you that's going to help you do many of these things, right? All right. Now, I see a question about LinkedIn Premium. Check this out. If you want to bring in more people, in addition to what the system has found for you, you can go to this option right here that says find more people from LinkedIn. This is built in. You click that, and what happens is you have the ability now to be able to say, look, I'm looking for, and I use this example because I know we have a lot of print friends here. I want to find more people like you, men and women that are here with me today. I want to find more printers, right? And the system gives you the ability to say, okay, what title do you want? Do you want first degree connections, people you're already connected with? Second degree connections, people you're not connected with? You want them in a certain location? Tell me more about who you want to bring in. And it will go and bring you back a list like what you're seeing here on the screen, right? And then from that list, what you're able to do is then check these little boxes, check, 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 or check all. And it brings it back into this section here where now you can start to engage with that person. If we can find an email, we'll bring in the email. We have the LinkedIn profile, obviously, since we found them on LinkedIn. You can now start to mechanize that initial outreach and engagement to that group of people. Does this make sense? Drop a 1 in the chat if you're understanding that. This allows you to tap into the lead list that is LinkedIn, but do it, like you said, Mackenzie, in a way that's strategic, thoughtful, and intentional in order to begin to widen your reach. So that's what this system will help you do. It'll help you do all 4 of those things: establishing your brand, publishing content. I showed you that by finding articles and themes that resonate with your target market, mechanize the connection with new people that you want to start to bring into your network. And now, let's say you have these things kind of locked in and the system's helping you. That frees you up for more time here to go and engage and be a real life person and talk to people. You see what I'm saying? Now I see somebody in the chat saying, my head's spinning, or something to the effect of, I get it, but I don't see how this all fits together. Let me show you a picture. I put this together here because I know that this can be a little difficult to initially wrap the head around. Look at the screen. As you know, omnichannel means finding and engaging your markets on the platforms and channels that matter to them. We're talking about LinkedIn today, right? LinkedIn is one of those places. So think about what I just showed you as kind of a top of the funnel mechanism. It's not only top of the funnel, but just for the moment, think of it as a top of the funnel mechanism that finds and engages people and warms them up and then brings them into your campaign management part of Mindfire. Some of you are using Mindfire, what we call Mindfire DaVinci formerly, or Mindfire Studio, the drag and drop workflow creator, right? So this kind of sits here and brings people into your database for you to be able to then operate on them. So this module helps you find people, companies, content that you can use and engage with, and then you can feed it into the rest of your Mindfire system for campaigns, or some people feed this into other systems, CRM, something else that needs to operate on that content. Does that make sense, everyone? Now, there's 2 ways that this can bring you value. Number 1, think about how you can use this for yourself in your own organization, for your sales team, your business development team. That's the first value. Number two, some of you, once you are able to do this well for yourself and build that capacity into your organization, if you're a service provider, so I'm talking to my agency friends, print service providers, commercial printers, if your organization helps customers achieve marketing objectives, sales and marketing objectives, maybe you're doing it primarily through print right now, think about how you can incorporate this as a service into what you're doing. Does that make sense? This service, this is no joke, is something that folks routinely charge for. In fact, we here at Mindfire offer this as a service, tens of thousands of dollars per month. That's the value in what this provides. But you got to know what you're doing. You need the training, you need the tools. You have both now, and the tenacity to make it happen. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to pause for just a moment, Mackenzie. I know we probably got a lot of questions. We got a lot of questions, right? Is that true?
We do.
Okay. So if you can start to pull those together for me, what I want to do is I want to answer all of those questions. Let's go back and forth, Mac, and answer those questions. But I want to give everybody an opportunity. I mentioned this to you. I hinted that if you want access, I want to give you some tangible next steps to be able to get access and to be able to figure out if this is something that's going to work for you. Okay. So as Mackenzie pulls those questions together, let me share a few things with you. First of all, two things I think we can do to help. Number one, if you want access, let me just get a quick kind of show of virtual hands here. If you want access, drop these three letters in, SSA, into the chat. I just want to kind of see how many people are interested in this. Only one person? Oh, no, there we go. SSA, 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 SSA. Come on, drop them in. Drop them in. Doug's raised his hand. Okay, drop the SSAs in there. That's good. What I want to do is in a moment, I want to give you a URL where you can request a seat. And we're going to give you free access to all the features up to certain reasonable limits so that you can start to use this. Because this is new, that's why we've made a very small group of people here to share this with, because we want to be able to work with you, help you understand how to use this, help us understand where to provide more training and support. And so if you want this, I'm going to give you a URL in just a moment. Mackenzie's going to drop it in the chat where you can request that. So that's the first thing we can do to help. Second, if you're thinking, yeah, this looks cool, but I'm busy, right? But I do have questions. I want to know if this is going to work for me, for my organization, or how do I sell this to a customer? I'm still kind of confused on how to do that. Mackenzie and her team have been gracious enough, and Jessica and Joe, many of the people that you know, to block out time on our calendars to have a call with you. Let's go one-on-one, figure out, can this help your business reach its goals? And if you're a service provider, printer, agency, et cetera, and in addition to using it for yourself, you're thinking about, how do I sell this to my clients? Then we can talk that through with you. All right. I know many of you have Mindfire Studio, what you see here on the screen. We're actually in the process of renaming some of the aspects of our platform to, I'll share more with that as we go forward, but many of you have Mindfire Studio. Many of you have Mindfire DaVinci. So don't worry too much about the technical details of what you have right now in your license. I'm going to give you a URL here in a second. And if you're interested, we'll be able to set you up and get you moving. All right. So here's what I'm going to offer you today. And again, there's no cost here. This is all for you as a family member. I want you to start to use this, but because this is something new and I want to make sure we give you our top attention and we focus on helping you be successful with this, this is only going to be for the first 10 people who say they want to get started. All right. So I'm going to give you that URL in a second. Here's what we're going to give you. First of all, the target markets functionality, you're going to have access to all of this, which I just described, and be able to create up to 10 target markets. What's a target market again? Target market is, your customers. Could be an ABM group of account-based marketing targets you want to go after. It could be a vertical. Let's say for some of you, you want to go after mortgage companies because you sell direct mail, right? You can create up to 10 of those. We're going to give you the ability to retrieve unlimited content, unlimited articles. What do you use this for? Again, either use those content pieces yourself or use it to inform the type of content that you think is useful to your market. Thirdly, going to give you the ability to visit up to 10 hashtags per day. For some of you, for most of you, that's more than enough. Hashtags, like the ones you see here on the screen, are going to help you really get closer to your target market in that particular bucket. Does that make sense? So 10 hashtags per day. We're going to allow you to visit and interact with up to 10 companies per day. And again, for many of you, that's plenty, right? If you can think of 10 ideal companies that you want to start working with today, that's what you can enter in here. And we're going to give you the ability to find more people at each of those companies. There is an extra incremental added fee for doing that, because that's a intensive part of the process. But you'll be able to do that. We can share those fees with you. It's not a lot, but we'll be able to share that with you. However, you also, for free, this is part of what's built in, we'll be able to go and pull those people from LinkedIn, as I showed you. We're going to be giving you the access to find and import up to 50 people per day from LinkedIn. So those of you who are thinking of paying for a LinkedIn subscription, you know what? Put that on pause for a second. Try this out. See if this works for you, because it should accomplish that and more in terms of what you were thinking with, for example, LinkedIn Premium. All right. So you're going to get that. And then as you bring those people in, you want to start engaging with them. You want to start connecting with them. And we'll give you the ability to do that with up to 10 people per day. Does that make sense? So if you're ready, Mackenzie, go ahead and drop that in. Here's what I want you to do, folks. Take that URL. Mackenzie's going to paste it into the chat. Go there. There's a little form. Fill it in and say, hey, I'd love to try the social selling assistant. And if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have any specific business issues that you are wondering, how do we help you solve those? Put that in there as well. All right. And so for the first 10 that go there, Mackenzie's going to drop it in the chat right now. We will give you extra hand-holding, love, and attention. Kushal Dutta, who's overseeing product here, is also on the line. He and his team have been working around the clock to get this to all of you, and we're really excited to be able to give you access. So go there. Thank you for dropping that in, Mackenzie. That's the first thing I mentioned to you is if you want access, now you know how to get it. Second, you want to talk this through. Maybe you're busy, or you want to figure out, is this the right thing for you? Is this the right thing for your customers? We have some time on the calendar, like I said, for all of you who are family members, printers, agencies, marketing services companies. Maybe you own the company, you're in sales and marketing, or even if you're in production and you've been tasked with learning Omnichannel and LinkedIn. Bless you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
And maybe you know that, hey, we gotta take this pivot. We got to make this pivot, not panic. We got to pivot in this crucial time and start to use modern marketing tools and technologies for ourselves or for our clients. Then this conversation's for you. Here's what we're going to do on the call. We want to get clear about what your goals are. What are you trying to achieve? What do you need to do? And then we'll help you understand the specific steps that you can take to get there with this framework that we've been talking about. What I showed you today is a piece of the social selling framework, just a piece. All right. So if you want to have that call, go to this URL. Mackenzie, can you drop that in one more time? If you want to talk, just drop it in there in the little comment box. Say, hey, I'm busy, or I don't have time to use the social selling assistant, but I would like to talk. I do have this issue. I do have this question. Because at this point, folks, I don't think I need to convince you, but where we are in the world, where we are as businesses, where we are in history, you can either do nothing with this information and this change that's happening, miss the opportunity to invest in this high value opportunity, or your second option is schedule a session, talk with us, and see if this makes sense. You're not committing to anything else. Just let's talk it through. And let's see if this would be helpful to you. So Mackenzie's giving you the URL. This is what you're going to see when you get there. Just give us your name, your email, your phone number. And again, give us those details so we know how to follow up with you. And I know that for some of you, you're thinking, well, we're using other tools. We've tried LinkedIn before, or I'm not technical enough to use LinkedIn. Maybe I'm too big. Maybe I'm too small. There's always these objections that come up in our head, right? That's okay. Hold those. Let us talk it through with you. We're going to tell you if it's not a good fit for you. We'll be very clear. But we have a variety of different solutions that I think can help, because not every company is the same, right? So go there. Let's book some time. Mac, are you almost ready with those questions? I want to get to all of them.
I'm almost ready with the questions. Yeah, I just want to make one comment while people are filling out that form. So I was talking to someone the other day and they said they're a print service provider. And they said, well, how do I get my customers to start thinking of me as someone who can help them with their LinkedIn? And they wanted to be able to understand, how do I sort of pivot in that way? And I said, well, you apply the strategy that we just talked about. It's about content, right? You want to reverse engineer the message that you want to give to the audience you want to give it to. But instead of just leaving them with that, I want to give you the same thing that I gave them, which is a very tactical thing that you can implement. So as you all know, earlier in the session, Dave showed you that 5 LinkedIn tip profile guide download, right? So it's a downloadable PDF that gives you, I think actually there's 15, but gives you a bunch of tactical ways that you can improve your profile. And so all of you are going to go take that and improve your profile in that way. Now, what I want you to do, you are trying to get your connections, get your recipients, get your audience to see you as someone who can help them with digital marketing or in LinkedIn. I want you to take that LinkedIn guide. I want you to start to use that as an asset for you. We can actually take off the Mindfire branding so that you can use it. Again, there's a small group of people here that I want to just give you this offer to. Take off the Mindfire part of it. You can put your logo or something like that, and you can share that LinkedIn guide. Now, you'll want to maybe contextualize it to your company, the ABC company's guide to building the best LinkedIn profile or something, right? So take that asset, personalize it to you, and then use that and share that with your audience. Because once you share that with your audience, put it on a landing page so that all your LinkedIn connections say, shoot, I want to improve my LinkedIn profile. How do I do that? Oh, Sarah just posted this guide on how I can do that. Sarah's going to click the link. Sarah's going to go to your personal landing page, right? With your contextualize your personal asset, fill in the information. She's going to get that guide and you're going to get that lead of the person who just filled that out, right? And now you know that Sarah's someone that sees you as an organization who can help her with her LinkedIn. So that's a very tactical tip. Someone says, I didn't know we can take that off. I would be happy to give you the raw asset for you to then change a little bit and put your logo on, put your own title. Again, I would make sure that you try to make it yours. Your best LinkedIn guide or ABC company's guide to LinkedIn, right? Change it a little bit so it looks like yours, and then start to go share that with your audience so that your audience can start to see you as someone who can help with things like this.
That's beautiful, Mac. Thank you. Folks.
All right.
Before we get to the questions, Mac, let me just for my data friends here real quick, why you need to consider this more than ever right now. Remember, 92% of buyers engage with you if you're seen as a thought leader. I underscored seen because now you know some of the ways in which you portray that on LinkedIn. Secondly, if you correctly view 10 or more profiles of people in your target accounts, you're 69% more likely to exceed quota. That's why this social selling assistant, what I've just shown you, this whole framework is so important. You can now mechanize that viewing of. Thirdly, you're 70% more likely to get an unexpected sale. Who wants unexpected sales? If you're engaged in a LinkedIn group. Engaged means participating. All right, let's get to those questions, Mac. You're on mute, Mac. First rodeo, huh?
Well, I'm trying to get everyone the link. It seems like it appears that some people are saying they're having trouble. So I just put the HTTP in front of the www. Everyone go over and just test that link, make sure it works. Give me feedback if it doesn't. I tested it a few times, but I just want to make sure because a few of you are saying that it didn't work for you. So hopefully this one works for you. Okay, into the question. So I'm going to kind of go from beginning to end. So some of these are going to be out of order. So Glenn says, is a like as good as a comment or a share?
So let me try to answer that in a few ways, Glenn, and then Mac, you can add your 2 cents or maybe your hundreds. Glenn, one of the things that we experiment with often, and you will only hear this here, so take a note, everybody, is that there seems to be some indication that, and I know this isn't exactly your question, but a like versus one of the other actions, there's like the support one, there's the heart, there are other actions. Try giving those or requesting those on your posts because it seems like those are weighted a little bit more heavily than just a simple like. And it may just be because like is the first easy one for everybody to hit. LinkedIn may be looking at, hey, you took the time to actually click that little option there and go to another one. You're spending more time engaging with the post. We don't know fully why that is, but just a little piece of added value there for you. So Mac, his question though specifically was, is a like equal in weight to a comment?
Or a share.
Or share, yeah. So I would not, let's put sharing aside for a second. I would do a like, and I would drop a comment. I wouldn't look at those as mutually exclusive. Try to do both, especially if you're engaging with a prospective client. I assume that's the direction from which you're asking. Now, a share, a lot of times we see a lot of mistakes with shares. What you'll notice when you see a piece of content and you literally just click the share button underneath the post and write maybe a line or maybe two, or maybe not even write anything at all, share it to your own profile so that your folks can see it. The distribution on that is pretty weak. I don't recommend you do that. If you are going to share, and we train our students on this, put value on top. Meaning,
on the top.
Yeah, write something in addition to, a polemic point of view, another added insight, something contrasting what the author below is saying. And then sometimes that will work fairly well. But if you just go and hit share and don't put much at the top, it's going to suck.
Yep. So that was actually another question. Yeah, you answered that one, and you answered another one, which is it okay to share posts that you feel are cool? And just as Dave said, to sum it up, if you are going to share, awesome. Just make sure that there's added value at the top, meaning you contribute to the conversation by typing something at the top of it so that people read your portion of it. They get something from you, and then they can actually go and see the post below that you shared.
Yep. All right, next question.
All righty, next question is, so there was a study done on Facebook posts that people tend to ignore a post without a photo. Have you seen this trend similar on LinkedIn?
Absolutely not. No.
There you go.
Do you want more info, or is that enough?
I think that's enough. But just like anything, right? Studies and benchmarks are really good, but you're going to find out the answer when you test. So I would test both.
Absolutely.
My
I'll tell you, if anybody's not in the Omnichannel Secrets training course, there's a 6-week course. If you're interested in that, let us know. In that 6-week course, I think it's in week 4, we teach you the different types of posts on LinkedIn. So as I mentioned to you today, there's a text-only post, there's a text with an image to your question, and we teach you how to track that and how to see which works well for you, how many eyeballs you're getting, what kind of engagement you're getting, so you can kind of compare them head to head. Often what works in terms of the widest reach for us are text-only posts, which is really interesting. But that's not to say that images don't also work. So Mackenzie, I fully agree with yours. Test it. But I wouldn't say that if you're thinking, shoot, I don't have the ability to create images or have good images, don't let that hold you back. You should be fine.
Perfect. Next one. So Cameron asked this, and Cameron, Dave goes more into this in the 6-week course, which you're obviously in, but just so we answer it live here. Should I be replying as my company page or my personal account? That's part 1. And part 2 is, how do the two differ, and how does the type of content change?
Okay, so I take that question is with respect to going out and engaging the community, right? The target market. You think that's the question?
And I also think replying to posts, So let's say someone in their audience has a post and they are going to go reply to the post or add a comment to it or drop some level of, a question at it. Should I use my personal page to reply, or should I use my company page to reply?
So I'll give you some perspective that is one view here that is a little bit different than what most people will tell you. And again, like Mackenzie said, I think you should test all of this. Most companies, when they reply from their company page, are very dry, very PR speak-ish, press release speak, very lingo laden in their reply, or they don't reply at all. And so what I would recommend you do is, if you're going to reply, I would suggest that you do reply from your personal profile, But if you're going to use your company profile, Gong, G-O-N-G, is a really good example of a company who in their company posts have a personality that actually gets attention. If you go out there and you leave a comment as your company and it's dry, it's boring, it's like every other comment that's out there, it's not going to stand out. You got to get attention. Attention is the currency that we're dealing with here. And so I would just say that, for some of you, you may not have the ability to post as your company. There may be brand guideline restrictions. There may be things that don't give you that flexibility, or maybe your organization doesn't believe in social. There's many reasons. I would suggest that is one consideration. Secondly, we test this all the time. Personal brand or a personified brand versus company logo. And more often than not, many times the personal brand, the personal profile outperforms that of the company logo. So keep that in mind as well, is that people like to connect with people. It's a human to human economy that we live in right now. And so I would test that. Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, so I tend to agree with what you said. One thing that I've done in the past when I was posting on our Mindfire, so someone wrote a post, I was replying or commenting below, but in the Mindfire page as Mindfire, I actually just wrote Mackenzie from Mindfire here, and then I responded personally. So nice. I was in the comments, it appeared that Mindfire was commenting, but in my text, I wrote Mackenzie from Mindfire here, and then I kind of added my personality in there. So to me, that's one way, if you really want to focus on your company page, to bridge the gap between company and person. And the other thing that I told Cameron when I was typing the response to him is, as you start to build relationships, whether it's on LinkedIn or email marketing or any of the things that you're doing, but since we're talking about LinkedIn, I think it's important to do two things. You want to build a relationship between brand and recipient, while simultaneously building and cultivating a relationship between you and recipient, right? So this is a two-pronged approach. If your company is Mindfire, right? Mindfire, we want you to think of Mindfire as a company who helps people do something, right? And the way that we influence your perception is by putting out a lot of content. Simultaneously, we want you to not just think of Mindfire as the brand that does that. We want you to think of Dave as someone who does something, Mackenzie as someone who does something, right? And the reason why that we do that is so that you can build a relationship. Now, what that allows you to do is bring in your authentic self. So if you go to my page, you're going to notice I post a lot about other things besides print and marketing. I post a lot about health, about fitness, about activity, about leadership, kind of culture, people things. And the reason I do that is because that's who I am as a human. So you're going to start to think of Mindfire as this entity and Mackenzie as someone who does this, where Dave does things like he'll share stuff about his family. I don't have kids, so I'm not going to share things about my kids.
You can have a few of mine if you want.
But Dave does, right? So again, he's building up the relationship between Dave and you. I'm building up the relationship between me and you. And then we as Mindfire are building up the relationship between brand and you. So as you start to interact, I want you to think about those two different things and think, how am I contributing to both relationships being built?
Mac, as you get the next question, I have a question for everybody here. I know some folks might have to drop off pretty soon. And this is a question I always ask because I love getting your feedback. We love seeing your feedback. So please listen for one moment and think, and then enter it into the chat box. What I want to know from today, we've been here quite some time. I really appreciate all of you being here. Give me the aha moment that you had today. Think back to everything. Maybe you scribbled some notes. Maybe you wrote stuff down somewhere. Maybe you tucked it away in your head. What was that one or those two things that stood out to you, that unlock, like you often say, Mackenzie, that gave you an insight that coming into this you didn't have, something you gained today? Please give me that gift of the feedback. We love seeing that. Mackenzie and I both love reading those. Cameron says, great tips. Thank you both. That's awesome. Melissa saying, stop overthinking and start interacting. Okay. Brett says, for him, it was look at myself as a producer of content. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. Brett, one little, since you like that, and maybe there are others, I don't know if you can see on my phone there. Can you see the notes app there, Mackenzie?
Yeah.
And Google Keep. I don't know if folks can see Google Keep. Those are two apps that I use when I think of myself as a producer, Brett, and everybody else for whom that resonated. as you are scrolling through your news feed, as you're looking at stuff on the web, do a snapshot, save that. We use Google Keep because it syncs everywhere, and store that somewhere with a little note to yourself around why that stood out to you. Then next week, next month, you're sitting there thinking, I need some inspiration. I need an idea. You go and you pull your swipe file and you look through and you're like, oh, I forgot about that. That was a cool idea. As a producer, let me leverage that idea for my next post. So I hope you start building a swipe file. What else we got here? Peter says hashtags usage and frequency needed to succeed. Michael says the idea to use a little automation AI to extend would be great. I have to leave. Take care. Awesome. Thank you for being here. Val says, great suggestion about how to engage with people by liking and commenting to get noticed, then connect. Val, that's awesome. Great takeaway. George says, I was wowed with my late arrival, and I can't wait to get the replay so I can make sense of the deal. Cool. Glenn says, the automated features in DaVinci probably should have known this. No, Glenn, you're okay. You're okay. Like I said, this is new. We've hand selected a small group of you to work with. So Glenn, it's not on you. This is the first time we're talking about it publicly in this way. Let's see.
Dan says, I love this last part about personal pages versus business page, and allow culture part of personal branding to be, it's personality to be expressed. Awesome. Great, Dan.
Melissa says, I do this on the reg. I get all my ideas at night. I keep my phone close by and jot down some words into the notes app for later posting. Great, Melissa. Good job. Way to go. Lourdes says, I already started using hashtags for the first time ever.
Love it.
Cool. And Lourdes, do you know how to check those hashtags to ensure that someone's actually listening to them? Make sure that you're actually using tags that are important to your market. Yep. All right, what else we got, Mac?
I always think about strategic hashtagging, right?
Yeah.
Hashtags are this incredible tool if you use them properly. So that is awesome. All right, let's see. We have... So this is a lot. Okay. So this is a question about sort of feeling, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but feeling like they don't have something very specific to contribute to the audience that they want to market to. So basically it comes down to feeling more confident about posting to this target market that you want to break into. As an example, let's say you're a print house, right? But you work in the variable data area of the print house, right? And then you want to go out there and post content about print as a whole, or applications or use cases that you don't have that much knowledge in. How do you produce content about something that you're not really sure about? You don't have the specific knowledge. And I'll give my answer, and then you can kind of add on value there. So what I said is, number one is give information about the area that you specialize in, right? If you're in the variable data side, talk about the data, talk about how that data allows personalization, give your experiences, right? Because that's a part of the overall delivery of it. The second thing is, and I have found this to be really helpful when I look at content from other people, is share in your learning as you start to learn it. So a lot of stuff that I like to learn about is sales or marketing or leadership or things like that. And I go follow people who are contributing to the conversation. Now, a lot of times there's topics that are new to them or they're exploring, and they sort of take me on that journey as they learn different things. A really good example is this person that I follow. He's a pretty recent entrepreneur. And each week he talks about new things that he is discovering as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as someone who's leading a team. And so he doesn't have all those answers to share, but each week he kind of shares a new tip or tidbit or something that he learned that week. So he's taking me, the recipient or the audience, along that journey of learning with him. So my advice would be share what you do know, what you are comfortable with, but also if you're learning something new, take your audience on that journey, because that makes you more human too, right? They learn with you.
Cool.
Anything that you want to add there?
No, I wouldn't add a thing to that. What else do we have question-wise, folks? Melissa loves you, Mac. By the way, folks, if you don't know, when I say Mac, I'm not talking about my Mac laptop. I'm talking about Mackenzie, obviously. I shorten her name to Mac, as if Mackenzie is too much for me to say, right? What other questions do you all have? Mac, I see you frozen, by the way. Your face is frozen in a state of joy. Melissa says, I do. It's true love. Hopefully you all can still hear me. I see Mackenzie's frozen. Drop me a couple of ones in the chat if you're still here with me. I want to make sure. Yeah, there we go. Now you're back. But it was a good facial expression, Mackenzie. It was all good. Yeah.
Someone said, how effective is Twitter and Facebook in connecting with prospects and customers?
Yeah, but firstly, what Mark said is even more important. Only Mac can freeze with such a great picture. Amen to that.
Thank you. I've seen some ridiculous ones.
All right. I just went off track. What was your question again?
The question is, how effective is Twitter and Facebook in connecting with prospects and customers?
Yeah, it can be. They both can be very, very good. Today we just focused on LinkedIn because of the mismatch, the content deficiency ratios. LinkedIn is very, very helpful, but Facebook, both the organic side can be used effectively. The ad platform is incredibly powerful. We haven't even touched on that today. The Facebook ad platform is probably leading the way in terms of its capability, in terms of you being able as a business to target just the very specific people that are important to you. So I would say Facebook is very important. Twitter is also good. We should probably do more on Twitter. Their ad platform is great as well. We've seen some good results there. So yeah, I wouldn't discount any of those. The goal is, as an omni-channel practitioner, we don't get married to the individual channel or mechanism. That's not what we get married to. What we get married to is our customer, our prospect, and where they are hanging out. So wherever they hang out, and you need to figure that out, that's what matters. All right, Mac, next question.
Love that. So then there was another question. I don't know exactly what they said, but basically the question was, is there another platform that you think is good for me to be able to find prospects and customers here? Oh, are there any other social media platforms that you would recommend as being useful? I'll give my take and then you can kind of give yours.
What type of company is it, and what's the person's role?
Good question. I think it's print, but Melissa, can you give us a little bit? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So Melissa, print. Card printing specifically. Awesome. So
is it Melissa H that we talk about often?
Yeah.
We talk about with such love and appreciation?
Positive admiration. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead. You want to take that?
Sure. Well, Melissa, yeah, I would say outside of LinkedIn, other than LinkedIn, I would be looking at Facebook. Now, depending on your perspective, you might think Facebook is a bunch of kids, which it's not anymore. It's skewed much older. I think you're probably a little bit younger than me, Melissa, but it's like us and our parents and our grandparents that are now on Facebook. And many of those people are decision makers at businesses. And the ability that the ads platform gives you to target those people is incredible. And so I would heavily consider Facebook. Are you familiar, Melissa, with a custom audience, with an email custom audience? Let me know in the chat if you're familiar with that. I'll give you some more context if you're not familiar with that. Mac, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, so I think that's good. One thing that I've been recently seeing, and this is not a recent thing, but I've just been seeing it utilized really well, are Facebook and LinkedIn groups. So creating a group or finding a group that's similar to the content that you want to be talking about, basically the idea of create the party. So if you want to, kind of like we have the COVID-19 print group, right? It's a place for printers to come and people who want print to connect and to be able to converse, right? So if there's something, card printing or whatever that is, create the group or find the group of people so that you can kind of host that party and then get people to engage. So that's the first thing I would say. There's a follow-up question, which is, is there a channel that is particularly useful for people with big personalities?
Yes.
So yes, absolutely. And there's two things that my gut tells me there. Number one is there's a space for you in all the platforms. It's about finding your tribe, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is I love YouTube for video because you get to see more of a person, right? If you have a big personality and you like to interact with people and you like to be in that format, I think that YouTube's great. If you have a big personality and you like to talk and engage, but video isn't your thing, I would head over and try Clubhouse. Clubhouse is an audio-driven app. So basically, you can go there and find topics of things that people are talking about, and you can listen and be a fly on the wall in the conversation. And you can create your own rooms of topics. Now, here's the cool thing. Clubhouse is very, very new. And so there's not a lot of people and not a lot of sessions and groups. I mean, for me, as an example, when I go in there, I'm actually having to search for things that I want to see. In contrast with Instagram, if you go as an example to your discovery page, there's a million things that they're feeding you to look at, right? A million pictures, videos, and images. Well, in Clubhouse, there's not, it's deficient in content. So there's not a lot there yet. So you have the opportunity to create the conversation there. So I would say that you would really like that.
So I'm trying to pull up something here, and I don't know if I'm actually going to be successful, but I'm going back to the question about where would a good place be for a big personality. I was going to pull up LinkedIn stories, but I'm not sure. It says I've started. You don't see my phone, correct?
No.
Okay. What is it asking me to do here? All right. So let's forget that. I'm going to stop share. I'm just going to hold it up close to the phone. So Melissa and others, here's what I want you to see. If you are interested in sharing more of your personality, you feel you have an outsized personality, can you see there? You see stories there at the top. So Melissa, on LinkedIn, what I would suggest you consider is becoming very active. What's so funny?
There's the video saying slice,
okay, I can't see it.
Baby.
Yeah, it's like Insta stories, Melissa. But again, remember who we're in front of, right? We're in front of potential business buyers here. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have or express your personality. If you're comfortable expressing your personality, it's a great way to publish content. We didn't talk about it at all today. Here's a story I did earlier, right? It's really easy to do. Use video when you're, out and about or whatever it is that you're doing. Let your personality shine through there. So that would be the first place I would suggest you look into. Second would be, Mac, your favorite there in the middle. What is that?
Quora?
No, TikTok, baby.
Reddit? TikTok?
Yeah. Melissa, are you on TikTok? Melissa's saying my personality is not that big or out there. Okay. Oh, you're video shy. Okay.
Oh, Clubhouse would be good for you then.
There you go. Clubhouse.
Audio.
Yep. There we go. George says I have to work on some estimates. That's good. Customers. Awesome. Awesome. All right. What else? What other questions did we perhaps miss? There's still a small group of you here. We don't want to shortchange anybody. If you've got a question or something that you asked that we didn't get to, please take the opportunity. Let us know. Don't hold anything back.
Yes. So Leon asked regarding the social selling assistant, is the tool working now? I did respond. And I think, Dave, obviously you gave the information, but the answer is yes, it is live. And
Correct.
We are giving it to a small subset of you. That's why we kind of brought you together for this session today to be able to use it and benefit from it. So go to that link. I typed it in the comment back to you, Leon, but also in the chat and fill it out.
I want to ask a question, Mac, if that's okay.
Yes.
I saw Brett say something here, which is intriguing. He says, I'm video shy, but I need to start doing it. And I noticed that Melissa used the same words. I'm video shy. For you two, Melissa and Brett, and anybody else who's here right now, what is it about video that you're shy about? I hear that a lot. I understand that. And you have to know that for somebody like me, I have no concept of what that's like. I don't even understand what that means. And I know it sounds strange, but I don't feel that at all. So what is it that you feel? Help me understand a little bit more about what it's like feeling that, because we're trying to, what's going on in my head is I'm trying to figure out how do I help? How do we help? How do we train? How do we equip in that area? Because video is huge. Video is huge. Give us some insight. Melissa says, seeing what my face looks like. It feels weird. Huh.
But that's pretty normal. It feels weird to watch things back. It feels weird the first time. If you ever leave a voicemail and you listen to yourself on voicemail, it feels weird. But this is kind of a tip that I gave to people. When you do something once, you put all your attention on that one video. When you do something a million times, you don't value each of those times. You kind of get over it because you're not going back to listen to every single cold call or every single voicemail that you left. So I think it's a practice of doing it so many times that it just becomes, hey, I've done this so many times. You never go and look at each one of those. I think it's just something that you need to do. And I do understand that, it can be something native to your personality, right? But I also want to encourage you to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, because something that you might be shy of now might be your favorite thing later. But if you don't try, if you don't push yourself out of that comfort zone, you don't give yourself the opportunity to experience it. And I think it's normal to feel like that at first. So just be okay with it. Acknowledge, hey, I'm going to put a video out there. I'm going to think my face looks weird. I'm going to think it's weird watching myself back, and that's normal. I'm going to go on to the next one. Acknowledge it and move past it.
Let me add to that one thing, Mac. I see a lot of people, that's good feedback, saying, I feel like I have to prepare and rehearse, and it takes a lot of time and energy. I mentioned stories. If you're not familiar with stories, it's a feature that many of the platforms have now, but they're ephemeral. They don't last forever, right? And they're only 15 seconds long. They're not long, right? Which is good, because you don't have a lot of time to screw stuff up, and you're not going to screw anything up, right? And if you do, and nobody likes it, it's going to go away in 24 hours. Not a big deal, right? Pull out your phone, record something real quick, see what happens, post it. And if it doesn't work, no problem. You know what I'm saying? So let me see what else people say here. I feel like I'm on the spot. I have to act a certain way. Okay, well, act like you, but I understand that feeling. Kushal says, maybe you should show them some of my TikTok videos. Ooh, cushy kush. Would love to, baby. Jessica is saying introverted versus extroverted. I understand that. I'm an introvert. I totally get that. Melissa says, exactly what I was going to say, Mackenzie. I hate hearing my voice on audio. Okay.
It's normal.
Yep. Brett says, I do videos all the time that are personalized to people. However, I don't do videos and post to YouTube. Brett, try some stories. I challenge you. Between now and the next time I see you on Thursday, do a couple of stories on LinkedIn. Mark says, I'm not necessarily video shy, but every little video I have done requires so many takes. Yeah, Mark, that's another, try stories. You don't get to do, you can do multiple takes, but you only got a few seconds, get something in there quick. Brett says, last week I did 50 personalized videos, all about a minute long. So Brett, you got the muscle. You got it. Let's see. Personally, it depends on the environment and the setting. People are saying great advice, Mac. Brett says, I just got to get over myself. Yes, we do. Jessica says, yes, I love stories for that reason. They're not permanent. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think you just got to do it. There was a time when I wasn't comfortable being on video for whatever reason, who knows? And I didn't do it. Here I am today, and I don't even think about it. Right? Yes. It's just practice. You need to just work. It's anything in life is working the muscle, right? Getting yourself in a rhythm. And it doesn't get easier. And it's okay if it doesn't get easier, but you just keep showing up. Whatever it is, you just got to keep showing up. That's all you can do.
Jessica says, haha, what? Extroverted, introverted? What does that mean, Jess? Help me out. Melissa says, I just want to say, can I read that? Wow.
Oh, I was reading Brett's comment about his wife's birthday.
Oh, okay. Oh, so I won't see him for 2 weeks. Okay, cool. No problem, Brett. Well, even more time, more stories. Melissa says, I just want to say thanks to y'all at Mindfire before you end. Wow. No. Since starting Mindfire training, I made so many new connections, had the opportunity to have some Zooms and phone chats with people that I don't know. Melissa, do you turn the video on when you do Zooms? I assume you do, but just curious. Had some opportunities that I haven't expected, like an invitation to co-host a Zoom meditation. I was going to say mediation, but meditation. Yeah. I feel like a bird starting to spread my wings, which I love because I call all my scuba students my chickens. I'm branching out and doing new stuff that I would never expect to do. And it's largely in part to you all. Wow. That's so cool. Thank you for saying all that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Big love. Definitely. Jessica said, I said extroverted introvert. Are you sure you're not an extroverted introvert? I don't know. I can't wrap my head around that. I love talking to people. I love strangers. So I don't know what I am. I'm just weird. All right. What else?
That's for sure, Dave. Every time Dave goes on an airplane, he leaves with a new best friend.
Oh yeah. Love people, dude. Melissa says, Dave, I can relate. I seem very extroverted, but really I'm an introvert. Yes. I would say that's probably me.
I'm kind of the same too.
Yep. What do you want?
There's a lot of people here.
Any other questions? Everyone's just liking to hang out here, I guess, huh? But I'm happy to answer any other questions. Let's see who's still here. I'm going to look down the list real quick. We got Brett still here, Cameron, Dar, Aaron. Hey, Aaron, James, Kamisha. Hey, Kamisha, it's good to see you. How's the senator doing? Lourdes, Mark, Melissa, Mike is here. Nicole, Peter, Suzanne, Tamara is here. Cool. Peter says, great job. Thanks for your time. I got to go. Peter, thank you for your time. We do it for you. Thank you very much. Mark says, great session. You definitely helped me improve my LinkedIn skills. Mark, that's so nice to hear. Thank you for that. We really appreciate you, and have a great rest of the day and a good weekend. Melissa says, I'll think of tons of more questions after you're done, I'm sure. Kamisha says, good stuff. Okay, good deal. Kamisha, hopefully everything's progressing well with that client of yours, I hope. Mackenzie, what else do you see?
That's all I see.
Okay. All right, folks. Thank you both for sharing so much. I reached out to connect via LinkedIn, and I'm looking forward to implementing your tips and tricks from Telmara. All right. James has a ton of great information. Thank you both. Well, I want to thank you, and I'll give Mackenzie the last word here as we sign off, but thank you all for being here. We have received numerous inquiries from all of you who are here. Jessica, Joe Manos, maybe Kushal, and others you're going to be hearing from very soon. We'll follow up with all of you who are interested and help you take the next steps there. We appreciate all of that. Be patient with us as we follow up. And more importantly, thank you for giving us time this morning. Time is the most valuable asset any of us have. And for you to spend this time with us, we're just so grateful. So thank you for being here. I hope you got value out of it. I hope you're as excited as I am. And with that, I'm going to turn over to you, Mac, for the final word.
Awesome. Yeah, just thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. As Dave mentioned, we put these sessions together for you. So if there's any other topics, if there's any other things that you want to learn about, or you feel, hey, if I learned this, it would help me unlock this next skill or help me be able to do whatever I do better, just let us know. This is a community that we want to, have a two-way relationship here. So if there's anything we can do to help you, any topics we can bring to you, please reach out. We're here for you, and we appreciate you joining us. So have a great weekend. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, everyone.